create like a child, edit like a scientist. This is a quote that Tyler, the Creator, said in his interview recently. If I'm being honest, it kind of like struck a chord in me because like I didn't realize how much of swings I would kind of lean to one side or the other. What I kind of took away from that idea is that create like a child is basically do not like kill your idea too early. Do not judge your idea too soon, because a lot of the times you have to let this idea, you have to throw things at the wall in order to like create new original ideas. And the edit like a scientist part is more of like the boring work where you're like testing things out of like this didn't work because of what. You're looking at data, you're looking at new information to guide your decisions. They're both great in the whole creative process, but I feel like a lot of us either lean to one side or the other. And for me, I noticed over the last few years, I have been leaning way too much into the edit like a scientist part, where a lot of my create like a child behaviors have been a little more suppressed. And I do know the biggest reason why, at least from my experience, is that the last few years I've been working directly with business owners. I've been making creative work for businesses to either like drive sales, brand awareness, and things in that nature. You definitely can't have one without the other. Like I know when I first started making any type of creative work, I would lean so heavily into create like a child, and the edit like a scientist would just be completely suppressed. There was no actual data-driven decisions. There was nothing like me looking at, oh, why did this work? Why didn't it work? Like I was just making shit just to make shit. And that is amazing. That's a great place to be. And then over the years, getting more and more experience and then getting into roles where results are important, you start leaning a little more into like, okay, this is what's working. Let's basically double down into what's working and then iterate what's already working instead of creating this brand new idea. And before we go any further, like I'm curious on what your perception is of like your own creative process. Like, are you leaning more towards like the create like a child or the edit like a scientist? Are you leaning too much, or are you perfectly balanced? For me personally, ever since I heard that saying, I've been intentionally trying to dedicate time into creating like a child and more exploration and more learning and more just trying new things and being okay with failure, because that's the beauty about being a creative. And if you're someone that maybe struggles with the edit like a scientist part, because that part can be boring. Bring it back to a scientist, right? Like they're having a hypothesis and then they're testing out their idea and then they're bringing it back to the lab and then they're dissecting what part of the equation didn't work. And that part is boring as hell. Quite frankly, that's what excites me a lot nowadays. Like I love to dissect like what's happening with the creative itself and how can we improve that creative, and that shit is fun as hell. So for a lot of us creatives, like especially in the beginning stages of our creative journey, we suck at editing like a scientist, and a lot of the creating like a child comes a lot natural to us. And once the boring part comes in, that's where people kind of just like call it creative block and don't really want to do the work, but in reality it's part of the process, and then bridging those two together is where we want to be. It's so funny because if you've been a long time viewer of my channel and you've seen like the type of videos that I used to make years ago, it was the definition of create like a child, zero edit like a scientist. Like we would do the absolute most random ideas and we'll mix them all into one video. Zero structure, zero thought, zero care, but it was just so much fun. Granted, it's probably a reason why the channel never really took off to the extent that I would probably have hoped, but it's because I didn't do no back end work. I wasn't really thinking about like even like the titles and thumbnails and shit like that. Like I would call that like editing like a scientist, because that type of shit is so important into the creative process to get your work in front of people. Like it's not just about the idea and filming the idea. Like there's a lot of things that has to happen before and after, pre-production and post-production. So yeah, this is a quicker video for you guys today, but I just kind of wanted to jump in here and talk about this thing that I was kind of dealing with and realizing that I haven't really been making as much time into just creating for the sake of creating and more brainstorming and actually creating that time. Because for someone like me, now that my brain's a little too wrapped up on performance, it's a little hard for me to actually make the time to sit there and just almost let my mind wander and just kind of just throw random ideas on the whiteboard. Like I've been using my whiteboard so much lately, and I feel like for a while it's just been sitting there, and that's just something that I've kind of been struggling with recently. I'm excited for this new chapter. If I'm being honest, like, it's probably the reason why I started posting again on my YouTube channel, is for the sake that I've been exploring more. I've been actually like just kind of stepping out of my comfort zone again, and I'm excited for it. And this is like a weird thing for me, especially I uploaded 2 videos so far and they got like 40 views, and then my analyst brain is kind of going into like, oh, why don't these work, blah 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 blah, and then it's like this whole thing, when in reality I just got to make more, and I just have to explore more and figure out what I want to even make on this YouTube channel, because I have no idea. You know, I have a idea, but like truthfully I just have to throw shit at the wall and not get too wrapped up with overthinking every single thing. So yep, that is my rant for the day. Like I said, which way do you guys lean? I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section. If you're leaning a little bit too much on the create like a child or edit like a scientist, or if you're damn near right in the middle and you fucking crack the code. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Appreciate you guys' time, and peace out.